Roger Daltrey responds to Zak Starkey's controversial remarks. Imagine the shock and disappointment when a legendary band member publicly criticizes a former colleague in such a personal way. That's exactly what happened with Roger Daltrey and Zak Starkey. The frontman of The Who has recently expressed that Starkey's comments after his departure from the band were incredibly upsetting, revealing the deep emotional impact of their fallout. But here's where it gets controversial. Starkey, the son of Beatles icon Ringo Starr, was dismissed from the band not once but twice in rapid succession, sparking a whirlwind of conflicting stories about what truly went wrong. The reasons behind Starkey's exit have been hotly debated. Daltrey and guitarist Pete Townshend have pointed to a mistake Starkey made during a performance at the Royal Albert Hall in April, suggesting that this error was the cause of his dismissal. Starkey, however, counters that the mistake was actually Daltrey's fault, claiming it was a miscommunication rather than a performance failure. The band later stated that Starkey left voluntarily due to other commitments. But Starkey insists he was pressured into accepting that narrative and did not want to leave. In an interview with The Telegraph, Starkey explained that a combination of poor planning and insufficient rehearsal led to a mishap on stage during the song "The Song Is Over." He admitted, "What happened was I got it right and Roger got it wrong," highlighting that the mistake was not entirely his fault. Addressing Starkey's remarks, Daltrey told The Times that Starkey's comments felt like a character assassination, a harsh and personal attack that he found deeply upsetting. Daltrey also revealed that the dispute initially stemmed from disagreements over the band's use of electronic drums, which Daltrey could hear through his in-ear monitors. He described the sound as having so much sub-bass that it became impossible to pitch the drums correctly, leading to frustration on his part. Daltrey clarified that during the performance, he was simply trying to communicate with Starkey about the sound issues, not criticizing him personally. When asked about the ongoing back and forth, especially the band's decision to bring Starkey back and then dismiss him again, Daltrey emphasized that only he and Pete Townshend have the right to define what it means to be The Who. He made it clear that other musicians brought in as session players cannot replace the band's original members, like Keith Moon, whose legacy remains irreplaceable. Daltrey expressed that Starkey's reactions had a profoundly negative effect on him, describing it as crippling. Following the fallout, Starkey was replaced by Scott Devers, and Starkey himself has expressed confusion about his future with the band. Roger Daltrey responds to Zak Starkey's exit comments. Roger Daltrey calls Zak Starkey's departure remarks character assassination. August 4, 2025. It was essentially a character assassination and deeply distressing, asserts The Who's iconic vocalist Roger Daltrey. 4 months have passed since the performances that led to Zak Starkey's exit from The Who, and Roger Daltrey has stepped forward to clarify the situation. Since April, Starkey and The Who have been at the center of media attention due to the conflicting reports of Starkey being fired from the band, only to be rehired shortly before his eventual departure. Starkey later clarified that his exit was not due to being fired, but rather because he chose to retire. Initially, a representative for The Who stated that the band collectively decided to part ways with Zak after the recent shows at the Royal Albert Hall. Check out the latest videos, charts, and news. In a June interview, Starkey shared his perspective on the events during those gigs. "What actually happened was that I got it right and Roger got it wrong," he told The Telegraph. According to a report from The Who's Royal Albert Hall performances, the newly knighted Daltrey had halted several songs mid-performance, blaming difficulty in hearing the band over the drumming. Starkey recalled that during the rare performance of "The Song Is Over," a lack of rehearsal led to Daltrey coming in a bar early. This incident prompted a call from the band's manager, Bill Kerbishley, who delivered the unsettling news to Starkey. He said, "It's my unfortunate duty to inform you that you won't be needed anymore. Roger claims you missed some beats," Starkey recounted. While Starkey admitted to missing beats, Daltrey has sought to clarify the situation in a recent interview with The Times. An audience can observe what's happening on stage and completely misinterpret the reality, he commented, referring to the Royal Albert Hall gigs. Turning to Starkey's remarks, he added, "It was a form of character assassination and deeply upsetting." Daltrey explained that the root of the issue was related to the technical setup of The Who's live show, which incorporates electronic drums transmitted through in-ear monitors. This setup is controlled by someone off-stage, and we had excessive sub-bass in the drum sound, making it impossible for me to pitch correctly. I was pointing at the bass drum and shouting because it felt like flying blind. When Zak thought I was criticizing him, I wasn't. That's all there was to it, Daltrey elaborated. As Daltrey wrapped up his discussion on the matter, he also shed light on the confusion surrounding Starkey's status in the band for several weeks. "Pete Townshend and I hold the right to be The Who. Everyone else is essentially a session player. You can't replace Keith Moon. We wanted to explore new directions, and that's all I'll say about it." But Starkey's reaction was deeply hurtful to me, he explained. In late July, The Who performed in Italy as part of their The Song Is Over tour, which is set to arrive in North America later this month. "This will undoubtedly be the last time you see us on tour," Daltrey confirmed to The Times. Get weekly updates delivered to your inbox. Sign up. https://cloud.email.billboard.com/signup. Roger Daltrey's response to Zak Starkey's criticism. The Who drama explained. Ever experienced the shock of having a trusted bandmate turn around and publicly criticize you? That's precisely what The Who's Roger Daltrey says happened with Zak Starkey, leaving him feeling deeply hurt. But here's where it gets controversial. Everyone seems to have their own account of what really went down, and the conflicting stories have fueled quite a bit of debate among fans and music insiders. For a quick recap, this drama reached its boiling point after a less-than-stellar charity gig at London's Royal Albert Hall in March. Zak Starkey, who is famously Ringo Starr's son, had been The Who's drummer for nearly 3 decades. Then, all of a sudden, he was fired, brought back on, and ultimately let go again. According to Daltrey, a major trigger was Starkey's tendency to play too loudly and make critical onstage errors. Yet Starkey insists it was actually Daltrey who botched cues, notably missing his entrance during The Song Is Over. Neither side appears ready to concede fault. Starkey, in interviews following his final dismissal, accused Daltrey of getting lost on stage and suggested that the singer's issues were the true cause.